Ah, you're back. Today we'll explore one of the most fundamental things about drawing: contour. Alright, let's get started. First, let's define what contour exactly means. We usually use the word outline to describe contour lines. And these lines basically describe what the object that we are drawing looks like. It's the simplest form of demarcation that we can put on the paper to suggest the overall shape and form of the object. When doing contour drawing, please do not shade. I think a lot of students are always rushing into the shading stage because shading would make your object look more three-dimensional. It would make your overall drawing to look nicer, and therefore it's this icing on the cake that a lot of people tend to rush into. But personally, I think that it is important to get your contour drawing, your line drawing, to be solid before you actually move into shading. And that's what we will do in the coming weeks. We will just be focusing on how to draw and not how to shade. Alright, so in terms of art, the most basic unit is that of a single dot, and a line can be described as two connected dots or a moving dot. Lines and dots are the most basic element when it comes to drawing, and you can achieve different results by combining different types of lines and dots. Okay, so the first example would be the vertical line. So it goes like this, vertical line. The second example will be a horizontal line. Horizontal line. Next one we have the diagonal line. So it slants like this. And of course we have the zigzag line where you mix and match several diagonal lines. Zigzag lines, and we have the curly lines. So by extension, the curly lines can also be curves like this. Can all be grouped as a curly line. And of course, when we are drawing lines, we should also take note of the different line weights. Line weights will be covered a little bit more in detail as to where should you apply these line weights. But for now, I will just introduce to you this concept about line weights. So you can go from thick to thin. Sorry, that was the other way around. From thin to thick. From thick to thin. Something like that. You can go from dark to light. So something like that. Line weight. Another thing that you can use line for is doing rendering to apply some sort of texture, or if you are using the approach of cross-hatching or hatching, you can use the lines to kind of indicate that as well. Of course, for now, we will not go too in-depth with regards to how to shade your stuff, but just to show you how you can use lines to kind of indicate form like this using hatching method. My circle is not very circular today, but you kind of get what I mean. Of course, if you want to apply cross-hatching. So this is for rendering. Hatching. Cross-hatching. And of course, we can apply a texture as well. So let's say I have a block over here. We can draw some lines in here as well to kind of indicate the wood texture. So these are done with placing lines at strategic areas. Something like that. So this is rendering. Maybe I move this information here. This is hatching, cross-hatching. And this would be applying some form of texture. Alright. And finally, we have something we call the cross contour. And for cross contour, basically it means that if you have, if you're drawing a form, a three-dimensional form, you place lines within the form to kind of suggest the flow of the object. So let me just use a very simple example. Let me just draw the mouse I have over here. Something like that. So this is the mouse that I am using right now. Okay, something like that. So if I want to apply cross contour, I will do something like this. I will draw a straight line because this face over here is pointing towards this direction. So all the lines flowing on this side, it should go that way. And over here, the form, it actually turns, right? Turns towards this direction and then towards this direction. So the lines will kind of flow like this. And then over here, because it's this part is facing upwards, so the cross contour will go like this. So if you can imagine modeling this in 3D, in a 3D software, that's what cross contour is for. So why do we have to learn about cross contour? The first thing is, it is good to kind of understand the underlying 3D form before you draw something. So to be able to visualize something in 3D space, it's an important kind of knowledge to have. And sometimes, okay, maybe I can draw an example over here. Sometimes, let me think of an example. Okay, let's say you are designing a creature, right? It's like a reptile, so maybe let's do a simple one, like a dragon or something. Dragon, and then you have its body like that, maybe. I'll not draw the rest of the body, but let's say it's something like that. It's almost like a dog. Okay, and you are thinking about putting in the scales and all the details in. This is where the knowledge of cross contour comes in, right? Over here it will be something like this. It is kind of following this symmetrical kind of layout, if that makes sense. Cross contour. Just a little bit more detail here near the middle. Similarly, for the scales over here, you want to kind of follow a cross contour layout as well. So you want to do something like this, and so on. Right? It has to follow this, the flow of this line, so it doesn't look out of place. There are two approaches of doing your contour drawing. The first approach is called the blind contour. For the blind contour, you are required to look at the object that you want to draw, and while doing so, without looking at your paper, put your pencil on your paper and start to trace whatever you see. All this while, you are not supposed to refer back to your paper to check whether your drawing is accurate or not. So without lifting your pencil, you are required to trace what you see. At this point, you are looking at the object, and your eyeball is moving where you can see the edges. Something like that. Can you guess what I'm drawing? For the second approach, called modified contour, you are required to look at your subject and look at your paper while you are drawing. So you will spend about equal amounts of time on your paper and on your subject. So something like this. Alright, it's pretty obvious which approach is better. You get a more accurate result with modified contour. In that case, what's the point of learning blind contour? Blind contour trains your observation skills, your hand-eye coordination, and your line confidence. This is very important when we move on to human figure drawing, especially when we are doing quick gestural sketches. More on that in the future. For this week's homework, you are required to do 10 hand drawings and 2 feet drawings using the modified contour approach. And you are required to also do 3 portrait drawings using the blind contour method. For these drawings, avoid using photo reference. Instead, look for what's out in the real world. Examine your own hands, pose it, and draw according to what you see. For the faces, just draw people around you. Okay, so I'll do a simple demo of how to draw a hand. And even though I'm using Photoshop, you can apply the same techniques with traditional media as well. So I'm posing my left hand, I'm drawing it with my right hand. The first thing you want to do is to kind of deconstruct the complex shape that is the hand. So in general, the hand is kind of over here, a box shape like this. And over here we have the thumb that is sort of connected to this part of the hand. And then we have the fingers. So it's kind of fan out like this. If you open up your fingers, it kind of looks like French fries from a packet. Something like that. Something like that. The pinky is significantly shorter than the rest of the fingers, but something like that. So you can kind of simplify the fingers into boxes, cuboids like this. The proportions are a little bit off, but for now it's not as critical. As long as you get it to look somewhat right. And the palm over here is also another box. So assuming that you are drawing the hand in a slightly different angle, this is what you can simplify it to. Okay, so right now I'll use my own left hand as a reference point. And I'll do something like this. So once again, I would simplify this into a box like this. And do another box like this over here. Kind of. Once again, when you are deconstructing anything, try to draw it very, very lightly on the paper so that you can erase your guidelines later. For me, because I'm using a digital medium, so I have the advantage of being able to work in layers. Something like that. Draw it in box first, and maybe I extend my forearm over here. Maybe for the forearm I will use a cylinder to represent that instead of a cuboid. Okay, so once I have something like this, a guide, I can, since I'm working on digital, I can kind of clean up these lines. Remember, for this particular job sheet, do not apply any sort of shading. Bone detail over here. Maybe I'll include some. Something like that. I can include my wedding band here. And there you have it. Simple contour drawing of a hand. Clean up the lines a little bit, and yeah, I think that will suffice. In today's lesson, you learn about the definition of contour, the different types of lines, and the difference between a blind contour and a modified contour. Enjoy your homework and let me get back to my drawing.